Welcome to the Sunnyside of Freedom. I am super excited to bring to you today 23-year retired Senior Navy Chief Matt and 21-year retired Chief Angela. Welcome to the Sunnyside of Freedom, you guys.
Thank you.
No,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much.
You're so welcome. I'm so excited to dig in and hear all about you guys. You guys are doing some amazing work out there. And for those viewers today, be sure to check out their website, buildingbattlebuddies.org. And Matt himself is on our TikTok as No Quarter K9. And they also have a YouTube channel. So be sure to check it out after the interview. Thank you for joining us today. I'm hoping this is also streaming on our TikTok platform. Be sure to give them some love. Be sure to follow Matt on there. They're doing some great work. So let's kick it off. Let's talk a little bit about Matt's military experience, or Angela, whoever would like to go first, go for it.
Oh,
Go ahead.
well, beauty before age. So I'll go ahead and start us off. Um, so I was in the Navy for 21 years, and I joined right after, actually the day before 9/11. I went to MEPS and joined, and next thing you know, 9/11 happened. So it gave me even more purpose and pride that I had decided to go and serve our country. And I got to do that as a military working dog handler. So I got to go all over the world, always with one of these guys to keep me company. So it was definitely a lot of fun. I had two combat tours, Iraq and Afghanistan, and it was great for the most part.
For the most part.
For the most part.
For the most part, I think it's so awesome, guys. I have two of them sitting here today. I mean, come on. Jeff, I'm just going to say it, complete badasses. Um,
Oh,
so awesome to hear about service animals as Sunny has built her community. I've gotten to know so many veterans with service animals and just amazing, amazing stories. So, Matt, what about yourself?
so like Angela, I was in the Navy right around 9/11. I joined in 2000. I was actually on a ship when 9/11 happened. But I did 23 years, Navy Senior Chief, as you said, um, multiple deployments. I served both in conventional and special operations units in the Navy, um, and I had a lot of fun doing it. But it was time to retire, and now I'm having even more fun doing it on
Yeah,
this side.
for sure.
So, did you guys serve together at the
Kind
same
of. That's
kind
how
of?
we met. Right. So we actually, when I retired, when I was retiring, I should say, I was here in Jacksonville, and I was stationed at NAS Jax. I was the regional kennel master for the Southeast region. So my job was basically to go from kennel to kennel on 13 different installations and look at the program, basically, right? Well, she was at Kings Bay, so I would make trips to Kings Bay. Um, so we were never really stationed together, but we met kind of through mutual friends. And I'll let Angela tell how we met because it's a pretty funny story. But
He thinks it's funny. So he had a female canine handler who had worked for him. She was a trainer at the region, and she was one of my handlers when I was in Kings Bay the first time. And we had went out to grab tacos and margaritas, and we were talking. And she said, "Hey, did you see that post by Maddie? He posted about a drug sniffing llama." And I was like, "No." She said, "Aren't you guys friends? You have like 90 mutual friends. How could you guys not know each other?" And I was like, "I don't know, but I want to see this llama." So I go on his page, and he's got everything locked down like Fort Knox, right? So I'm like, okay. So I hit the friend request, and I thought it was safe. Oh no, this guy sends me a wave, and I've never gotten rid of him since. So here we are, 6 years later almost, and I still never got to see the drug sniffing llama. For the
Oh,
record.
man.
she got to see way more than the llama.
I wanted to see the llama. I'm just saying.
I'm not even going to say anything.
How can you, right? Like, so
I
yeah,
think
that's how I ended up with this guy.
We were just talking backstage and we were talking about how the universe is quite interesting, how it brings us all together
Mhm.
at a point or another in our lives. We're all making these connections, and it's so amazing. We have so many similarities in our stories, and I want to tap into a little bit of your individual stories because for so many of our service members, one of the hardest struggles isn't so much even just the service, it's coming out of service, taking the uniform off, and then saying, "Here you go." go figure it out. Go figure it out on your own in society. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what the difficulty was for each of you coming back into society?
So for me, I was very fortunate. I got to use my skill bridge. So, that's hit or miss for a lot of service members transitioning out. They either can or they can't. And for those of us who can, it was phenomenal for me. It really helped me transition time wise. Like I started to learn what to do with my time, without somebody telling me what to do with it all the time. I got to have that time to do my VA claim, to do job fairs, medical appointments, anything that I needed to do. But I worked for Recruit Military, and they are an organization that helps transitioning service members and their spouses find employment. And it was a mentorship for me. They helped me with my LinkedIn, taught me how to do that, taught me how to write my resume. They would do job interviews with us, mock interviews. So I got to do all of that, which was great. But they don't really talk to you about how you lose your identity, your sense of self. And I was used to being a military working dog handler. I was used to being in positions of importance, right? And not importance like, hey, look at me. It was one of those, you make critical decisions, right? You thrive in chaos situations, and that's what you're dealing with every day. So to go from 60 to 0, was really difficult. And it was kind of like, who am I? What do I want to be when I grow up? Am I going to be able to do anything out there? How am I going to relate to them? How are they going to relate to me? So you really start questioning everything, and it's scary. I had a mentor through ACP, American Corporate Partners, and they work really well with transitioning service members to get you someone who is going to help mentor you and get you to where you want to go, career field wise and personally. So I did that, but it was still scary because nobody tells you about stuff like that. So
I
that
think
was
it, sorry, I think it's super important that you just shared all of that because I think that's probably the first time I've heard it in all of the interviews that Sunny's done here on the YouTube channel. I don't think any of our veterans have shared that piece to that degree of involvement,
Mhm.
transitioning out of service. So I think that's fantastic that that's out there. So I encourage anyone watching today, if you're in the beginning stages of transition, please ask questions, be your own advocate because it's so very important. As Angela was discussing, all of those stepping stones will definitely help you. It's not going to
Mhm.
be an all inclusive where you're going to find all the answers because the transition experience in itself, just based off of all the stories that have been shared here on the podcast, have been very difficult.
Mhm.
Leaving a life of structure and discipline and understanding, role understanding, and then to be kind of left on your own to identify with society, friendships that are there or family that are there, the resonating with what you're going through seems to be a piece that's always emphasized on for sure. And I don't know if you want to talk about that, Angela, a little bit, some of the struggles that you may or may not have had reconnecting, whether it be friends or family after service.
It's really difficult because obviously a lot of them don't understand the ways that you've served, the things that you've had to sacrifice. And now, mind you, again, I volunteered to serve just like Matt did, kind of, but he'll get into that. But it was a choice that I made to keep our family and our country safe. So I didn't expect them to have to identify with what I did, but I found myself not being able to identify with them either. So I felt like I was on an island of one. Nobody understood me. I couldn't relate to them and kids and children and, PTA meetings and things that they were doing. And they couldn't relate to me, having been to combat, not wanting to be in rooms full of lots of people, not understanding why I'm always trying to sit with my back to a wall or when something made me feel a little bit uneasy, they couldn't understand that. So you really do feel alone when you're going through a lot of this stuff. And you don't know if you'll ever find anybody that you can identify with again.
That sounds scary. It really does. I think one of the things that Sunny emphasizes on greatly, whether it be here on the YouTube channel, the TikTok platform for Veterans Night, is finding community, finding someone, reach out to someone. And it feels very crippling when you feel like you can't reach out to anyone, like no one sees you, no one hears you, or the
Yes.
true you and what you're going through. Um, and what would you say helped you? Um, was it what type of grounding or exercise? What have you done for yourself when you were struggling?
Well, I definitely had to remember that, you know, some things are within your control and some things are not, right? So there's no point in beating your head up against a brick wall or being hard on yourself for things that are outside of your control, right? Um, and having somebody that could relate to me, I was very fortunate that I had him because when things got scary, sometimes you just need a different perspective or somebody to be like, hey, it's gonna be okay. And luckily, Matt and I are blessed with living on the coast of Florida. We'd go to the beach together. We would shark tooth, just having that grounding of putting your feet in the sand and the familiarity for the both of us of the ocean. It just does something to your soul and it allowed you to breathe and say, hey, it's going to be okay. We're going to figure this out one bite of the elephant at a time. So, I think having a coping mechanism, be it exercise, be it walking, be it a dog, something to keep you grounded and remember that you do still have a purpose. It's just a new one and it looks different.
So awesome. And looking through your website, one of the things that stuck out to me, and I had to write it down because I just thought it was so beautifully said, which is giving both the dog and the individual a second chance at life. And we're going to get into that, guys, the building battle buddies, which is so awesome. But I love that. And, the power of connection, whether it be with a service animal or another person, is important in life. Now, Matt, how about yourself? We're going to go on over to Matt.
So for me, a lot like Angela, I did because I learned from her, right? So she did the recruit military thing, and I did as well. Which for our listeners or viewers, I would highly suggest at least check them out. And to your point, you kind of already touched on it. Is just use the resources that are available to you, right? They're free, they don't cost anything. Now, don't expect them to change your world or fix your life or do any of these things, but the more resources and the more networking and talking to people that you do, the more likely you're to get help, right? So that would be for that transition piece. It's so important during that time. I too got a mentor through ACP that was local here, so it really was helpful in starting a new business and doing all these things. So but Angela made it sound a lot easier than it actually was, honestly. So we can talk about that. So when I was retiring, I was in a bad marriage. I was drinking excessively. Trauma was catching up with me from deployments and childhood trauma and just life, right? It's all catching up. And then I was in a motorcycle accident, and then I got fat, right? So then I'm like, I really started feeling sorry for myself, right? And this is all during my transition out of the Navy, right? So I'm like, now I'm losing my identity, which, I never was like, hey, I'm a senior chief, but it was just, I was institutionalized because I was in the Navy for so long. I was in 23 years and I joined when I was 18. So like Angela said, it was jail, or I was like one of the jail or the military. And I chose the military, but yeah, so I didn't know what I wanted to do. Luckily for me, I had her. And she got a high paying job. She was working at Amazon, stressed out, like unbelievably, right? And I got hired on to train dogs for somebody, right? So I had a couple, irons in the fire. I was applying all over the place. And luckily I found a job making pretty good money, about 80K a year, just training dogs. Right. So, it kind of lined up for us that way. But I still, I was happy because I had her, but we were both unhappy, right? She was miserable at Amazon. I was just getting out, a loss of identity. Like I said, I had done some fun shit, right? Like I rode around in helicopters and, and it was like the pinnacle of success at a tier 1 unit in the military. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
you jump out of helicopters with the dog? Like the
I rappelled out of helicopters with a dog, but I never solo jumped with the dog, no. But I have jumped, yes. Where was I at? Oh, so yeah, it's like we went to the moon, and now I'm fat and I have nothing to do, right? And I'm working for somebody else. So, but during this time, my sister was breeding dogs in Colorado, and she had a litter of dogs. And so my thought was, well, I was getting tired of working for someone else. He was kind of an asshole. So I wanted to quit that. Well, no, I didn't want to quit. I just quit one day, which put more stress on her. And then I just decided I could do this on myself, right? And so I had already started a business, but I really didn't do anything with it. I had the LLC, but then I just jumped in and started doing it. But during that time, my thought was, okay, well, I'll get a dog and I'll train him up, and then, I could sell him, right? Because, I could market him and all these things and sell him. Well, during that, he was able to help heal me, because I now had somebody to be around all the time. Angela's great, right? But she has a job, she has a life, right? So having Loki as a constant, right, who gives me unconditional love. So, and then just getting out, walking on the beach, going for walks, all these things, getting in nature. It was all going to therapy. All of these things, right, helped. And that's kind of how building Battle Buddies came about in so many ways, in so many words.
So let's get into, and I think that's beautiful, by the way. Let's get into Battle Buddies, because I'm sure we have viewers today wondering, I have already experienced where some veterans are like, I need a service dog. I'd love to get a service dog. Maybe they're not in a financial position to get a service dog, but let's head that way in the conversation. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about building Battle Buddies, when you got started, what the purpose is behind your mission.
Yeah. So basically, simply, our mission is to save 2 lives at once, right? So the way we started, kind of what I was talking about, is we had Loki, and I thought, oh, well, I'm going to train him to be my service dog, right? Because he's not going anywhere. Well, fast forward as I'm, working through my no quarter business, and I'm, finding time to also volunteer at the shelter, to give back that way, right? So we would go to the shelter and help train the dogs. Well, there's a couple dogs there that had bad reputations, that had been in the shelter for over a year, and they just couldn't, they didn't have the tools to figure it out. Let's just say it that way, right? So I was able to help, and it gave me a purpose. I felt like we were saving that dog's life, because we did. We got it out of a shelter and we got him into a trained dog, right? So it came full circle. Angela and I had always thought, oh, we want to help veterans, and I got really good advice from somebody one time, okay? And I want our viewers to hear it. Is I asked somebody who was very involved in the veteran community, and, just when you go on LinkedIn, he's got all these followers. And I asked him, I said, well, I want to help veterans. How do I do that, right? And he gave me a very simple answer. He says, put yourself in a position to help veterans. So that resonated with me. So now, as we're like, okay, how do we help veterans? How do we help dogs? It just made sense. And that's kind of how it started. And, what we do is through a 21-day fellowship, we train the combat veteran or first responder to train their own service dog. So it's, when you join the military, you go to your unit, you went to school, you did all these things, but really the way you learn is by someone grabbing you by the arm and showing you how to actually do the job. So that's what we do. We do a right seat, left seat. And then, they either leave with a trained service dog, or we provide one to them that they've already had, right? So let's just say, and what makes us different, it also is our entire program is based around that veteran.
First responder.
Or first responder, right? If they have a dog and we can train that dog to be a service dog, and which 95% of the time, just because I'll say I'm that good, I am that good, we can do it, right? So it's helpful, because other programs that exist like us expect you to go there for 21 days and stay in the campus, and people have lives. people have jobs, they have wives, they have all these things. So what we do is we try to build a program around the veteran or first responder. Like for instance, we have an Orlando police officer um, who responded to the pole shooting down there. He was SWAT. He did all these things, and then he almost died. He had a heart attack basically, and they had to do open heart surgery. And now he's being medically retired from the police force in Orlando. Well, he also at this time they had a dog that was washed out of canine training for their police because he was too nice, basically,
Yeah.
right? Because they need him to bite bad guys, and he didn't really want to do that on the street. But anyway, so that dog got washed out of their program. He ended up adopting the dog. Well, here in March, they're going to be coming up here from Orlando. We're putting them up here, and we're going to train that dog for him. And that he's going to leave here with his service dog. So, like I said, completely built around the veteran or first responder's life.
That's amazing. Completely amazing. We actually have a question from one of our viewers today from 420 Chief asking, I would love to hear more about the training that you had with dogs while active.
Yeah,
Because
so I
you
would
have lots of
like
experience.
Angela, sorry to cut you off. Like Angela, I did dogs. It's all I really know. Really, I did it my entire career. I was on a ship for like 3 years, and then regular security for 2 years, and then it was dogs. So my entire career. So I did it as just regular military police. I was, went through Lackland like all of the other branches do. So we would go to a joint school in San Antonio. It was Marines, Army, Navy, and Air Force. They may have Coast Guard now. I don't know.
And sometimes DOD.
Yeah.
The civilian handlers.
So I did that. I went to school in 2005 because after 9/11, I wanted to get involved. It was really like dumb kid motivation, right? Chase the dragon, go try to fight the war. And the only way to do that as an MA in the Navy was either cross-rate to like go be a SEAL or something, or try to be a dog handler. So that's the route I went to be a dog handler. I deployed to Iraq in 2007-8 with the Army. I was with the 101st Airborne. To any Army guys out there, 237 No Slack Division, I guess that's what it was. So I did that, and then I was stationed in San Diego as the LPO there, deployed to Djibouti. That was really not combat. And then I screened for special programs, and I was stationed in Naval Special Warfare Development Group, and I did a few deployments out of there as well. So.
Fantastic. Thank you. So your program, what does someone have to qualify in order to submit an application to be considered?
So all we really ask for is their DD 214. So we review that, and then we do look at their VA summary benefit letter, right? Just as a part of our screening process. And then we ask for a simple essay, right? Because we ask for an essay, one, because we can, show our donors like these are real people and these are their stories. For two, it shows us that they have buy-in, okay? Because we do ask for about 4 hours of their day every day for 3 weeks. So we want to see that they're invested in our program and they want to go through it, because we're also, either providing them with a dog or we're giving them, hours upon hours of training. So we ask for a little bit of buy-in from them, just their story, what they've been through, and how a dog, could help benefit them, or a service dog, I should say.
That's awesome. And is this at any cost to
No,
those
no
applicants?
cost. No cost.
Everything we get from the community or we put into the program is from the community, local donations. We've had large donors, small donors. Any donation helps, that. But it's all through the community.
Absolutely love it. And yes, I do know. It is, it's wonderful and difficult at the same time.
Yes,
But I absolutely love your mission and the difference that you're making and the lives of those that serve, continue to serve. And of course, you definitely are saving 2 lives. One of the things that we talk about greatly, whether it be here on the podcast or on TikTok, is always raising awareness to 22 a day and saving a life. And you're saving 2 lives because these dogs are coming obviously from shelters in most cases, or they're providing you with the animal that they'd like to be seen as a service dog. So I think it's really amazing. I know that we had one of our comments here, how cool it is because we have so few handlers in the Navy. So is it Huya? Would that be appropriate?
Was
Huya?
it Hooyah? Hooyah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Navy is
Yeah.
Hooyah. I did want to add one thing too.
Yeah.
So yes, we will rescue, but again, it's built. So we had a quadriplegic battle buddy that we needed to provide a dog for. So we got a mini Yorkie, and which we purchased from a breeder, right, for ethical breeder, and we trained her to be able to sit on his chest because he's can't, right. So again, I just wanted to put it out there that nothing is impossible.
No.
Right. So we will try to do anything to help however we can.
And we know that we're not the solution, like we say, saving two lives at once. But the thing is we're bringing them in so that they have a tribe, right? And it's building those networks that we've developed. So we know somebody in the community that may have a resource for them, for work, for life, for support, for therapy, for anything. And that's what we try to do. That's why we want to bring so many people into our tribe. Is you never know what they're going to be able to offer. It may just be a conversation, but even that conversation is going to help our veterans and first responders. So
100%, the power of networking is so important. Even how we met, right? I know
yes,
Matt had a conversation with 420 Chief, and it led us to this connection, and it's amazing. We actually have more in common than I thought before we started this interview. But it's incredible. You know, we say this all the time, and not everyone's ready to hear the message of reach out. You know, there's someone out there waiting just to listen, to sit with you. The power of community is so important, and some are not ready for that yet. That's a step. You know, sometimes it's just reaching out and having the conversation with one person, and this is in itself serves to not only provide that service animal that will offer them that one-on-one companionship, the loyalty is there, unconditional love is there, but it also bridges that gap and introduces them to you guys. You're a wealth of information as far as other resources, and that's where it starts, guys. It's these conversations. Why I always say keep talking, and so many shut down and stop talking. And we talked a little bit about this before the interview. One of the hardest things to feel as a human being is feeling like you're not seen, you're not heard, no one will ever understand. And we're here to tell you that someone will. Someone will. You just have to reach out. We've lost way too many veterans to the veteran mental health crisis that we have in this country. It's unfortunate. It's sad. I don't know what that one solution is, but we're all working hard to lessen and bring down those numbers to zero. There are so many resources out there, but it's not until we start connecting and talking about it that we discover them. Staying isolated in our own little zone won't help us. It just won't. We'll continue to stay in that space and frame of mind for that matter. So I'm going to ask the both of you, if you may, take turns, maybe letting us know what advice you would give someone listening today, maybe just in their transition period, or maybe they've transitioned and just haven't gotten unstuck.
Yeah, so I would just say that don't be too proud to ask anyone for help, first of all, especially if you don't know the answer, ask, right? They lie to you. You go through taps and they tell you reach out to a bunch of people on LinkedIn, and this is like they tell you all the wrong shit, right? So really reach out to people who have been there, right? Like that's the best advice. Anyone transitioning, reach out to someone who transitioned, right? And ask them, hey, like what the hell do I expect? You know, what resources can I use? We've already touched on a few: ACP, recruit military. There's a bunch, right? But also understand that you have to help yourself, right? No one is going to help you until you help yourself. So to your point, the isolation, you if you self isolate, which that's what trauma people do, right? Is we shut ourselves off from the world, and we feel bad for ourselves, right? So you have to get out there and you just have to talk to people, because if you scroll on Facebook or whatever your social media virus is, you're just going to be in a bad mood anyway. Get out there, talk to real people, connect with real people. And that'd be my biggest thing. And just know that, you're not alone.
Absolutely. And give get involved in your communities. Find the community that feels right for you. I know I heard you both say, it changed your
Mhm.
perspective when you started serving in at a different capacity, sharing about going to the kennel and working with those dogs, finding your purpose again. And we could talk a little bit about that. So many struggle. I still, to date, will have someone say, I'm struggling. I don't know my why. I don't have a purpose anymore. And they're in that place. What advice would you give?
They need to remember grace. And that's something that's always been hard for me because I'm my own worst enemy. I think we all are sometimes. I can't get out of my own way sometimes. But you have to remember to have grace, right? We all started out at the bottom at one point in time. For us, it was 20 years ago, 23 years ago, right? Every time you transfer to a new command, you started at the bottom, right? It's the same with transitioning. You're starting at the bottom. So you have to find your way. You have to find those people that are going to be rocks or pillars for you as you move into your new world. But you also need to remember that just because somebody says no, this is the only way that I'll say this, it's a platform for negotiation, right? That person didn't say yes, but it only takes one yes. So you may have a million no's, or you may reach out on LinkedIn or to somebody and they're not receptive because they've forgotten where they come from, right? They forget how hard it was to transition. So just, have grace and remember that that person may not have been able to share an experience, but don't let that derail you. Have some perseverance, which we know as a service member you have, and reach out again to somebody else because somebody else is going to give you that hand and say, hey, sure, let's come alongside me. Let's talk about this and see how I can help you.
Also, I would add that it may not always be a military veteran that helps you.
100%.
It may not be anyone who served that helps you, right? So I hate the word transition, by the way. So I
Yes.
want to call it transforming, right?
Yes.
Because you're transforming
You
into a
are.
better version of yourself. When everyone should be proud to serve. Everyone should be proud of their service. But just because you did that doesn't define who you are,
Mm-mm.
right? You have to find your true self. So I like transforming better than I like transitioning.
It's part of your journey. It's just another experience.
Absolutely love that. And thank you, Matt. You actually read my mind. That was kind of creepy. I was going to talk about how, and don't, although veterans need veterans, first responders need first responders, you need someone who can resonate with your story, but don't limit yourself.
Mm-mm.
When you limit yourself, it's just it's a box that you're putting yourself in. And I always say, bust out of that box. There's
Mhm.
so many other connections out there, people ready and willing to help and support, bridging that gap between a veteran and civilian world. I know that on my platform as a civilian myself, veteran advocate, that's probably been one of the hardest things that I came up against. Like, well, you're not a veteran. What do you know? You know, and it's not until you give it an opportunity, like any relationship, you may very well make a connection with another veteran, and they're not going to be the support you're looking for. You
Right.
know, it's just finding that right relationship. So never limit yourself. There's so much out there when we open our minds to the possibility of, just connecting with others. We learn from each other. That's another piece. I know that we talked a little bit about that. We resonate with trauma. We resonate with pain. We can resonate and have these conversations and say, I never served, but I understand trauma, or
Mhm.
I've never served, but I've lost one, someone too. And we talk about this because it's important. And like Angela, you said, sometimes we can't get out of our own way. And we do it. We don't give ourselves enough grace either. Human. And we're figuring it out one day at a time. We don't have to have all the answers right away. We're a work in progress. And I love the word transformation, Matt. That's awesome. Completely awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, as we're kind of headed out into closing out this interview, what would you like to add, if anything, whether it be about the service animals, the maybe a success story that you have for a specific story? I know you just mentioned the one with the Yorkie, which I thought was awesome. The sky's the limit, right? There's no barriers there. Just reach out to them, guys, because they'd be happy to answer your questions. You know, like Angela said, you might get a few no's, but then you're going to get a yes. And
Mhm.
honestly, I have not heard of anyone else doing what you all are doing thus far. I know there's service animals out there. I know that it comes at a cost for our veterans. So when I heard about what you're doing, I was like, this is awesome. There's so many veterans that can't afford a service animal. They just can't afford it. So I thought it was worth absolutely getting on here and sharing that with the community because it's important. And for those in a position to sponsor and donate, please consider doing so. It's such a great cause, such a great cause. There's so much love. I've seen it firsthand, even at my own veteran meetups, the love that comes from a service animal for our veterans. Really, truly given definition to never alone. And sometimes it's not in the form of a person, it's an animal, it's a service animal. So, Matt, would you like to add anything?
Yeah. So, to your point, it, just reach out, right? So even if you may not qualify for our program, doesn't mean that you can't reach out and be part of our community, right? So, um, or we could try to help you and point you in the right direction. We have a lot of resources, right? So don't be, afraid to reach out. And, you are not alone. There are people who have been through this process that you're going through, or, and like you said, also trauma is trauma, right? It doesn't matter if you got it on a battlefield. It doesn't matter if you got it as a child. Doesn't it's trauma is trauma, and people who've been through it and have coping skills to get through it can help you regardless of where they come from or which side of the uniform they wear, right?
Well, and I'd like to add, Sonny, IC 420 Chief posted that he loves that we found local support. We couldn't have done this without the local support, 100%. And, it's not just, we got in with the VFW, we got in with the American Legion, but we also started reaching out and having outreach from the Rotary clubs. The local Rotary clubs wanted to be involved. They wanted to help. I myself got involved in this program called the Veterans Treatment Court. So what they do here in Nassau County is they have a probation that they give to first responders and military members who get in trouble. So if they have a domestic, if they have a DUI, if something comes along and they find out that they had served or they had been in service to their county, they will give them the option to enter this program, and they get a mentor, they get VA assistance, they get all kinds of resources given to them. And after the year, whatever it was that they got in trouble for will be expunged off their record if they successfully complete this program. So I joined to be able to help not only as a mentor, but because of building battle buddies, because we are an additional resource that obviously the VA isn't going to push them towards because, they don't know about our mission yet and they have their own way to do service dogs, but it still helps our community. So I wanted to step in that way. And then we also get involved. They have a veterans treatment, or excuse me, a veterans council here, which has the American Legion, the Vietnam veterans organizations, the Marine officers organizations. So anybody in the community that has an impact on veterans, we decided to join their coalition and get involved to get our outreach even further. So if you can get in the community and get that local support, be it veteran or just a civilian, please do. Like, they all want to help. They are all so proud of our veterans and first responders. And that's their way of giving back, is either giving us money, giving us awareness, or giving us their time.
Yeah. I would say it's been easier to get money than it has to be
100%.
to help the ones that want help, right? Because as combat veterans or first responders, usually they don't want help until it's too late, right?
Yes.
Or not at all. So because it comes from a place of pride, it comes from a place of, I don't want a stigma, but we got to break those stigmas down, right? And understand that it doesn't matter, right? Like, do whatever you need to do to be better.
Or they felt like they could never lean on anybody, right? Well, they can lean on us. We're like rocks. We're not going to go anywhere. We were an anchor in the Navy for a reason, right? You drop those anchors and they don't budge. So that's what we do. We hold them down so that they could go do the things that they want to and know that they're never going to lose that support.
Absolutely love it. So well said. So well said. Absolutely. And I love the anchor and rock analogy. Too often when someone says, I'll be there for you, it's not there. And it's there's something to be said about we're here when you want us, but you have to be ready. And yes, it's when we put our ego in our back pocket. It's when we're ready to start the healing process. We often talk about the healing journey. It looks very different for everyone, and there's many stages of the healing journey. As I often say, you are the author of your story, and you get to decide when it's time to turn the page and start a new chapter. So make it today, and just know that you're never alone. You truly aren't. You just have to reach out. Such incredible story, you guys. Together, powerhouse. I love it. Absolutely love it. Breaking them stigmas, and definitely gained a huge supporter here. I most certainly will continue to share what you all are doing there in Florida. And for any of our veterans, first responders listening today, if this is something that you're interested in finding out more, please visit their website, Building Buddies, buildingbattlebuddies.org, and reach out to Matt and Angela. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much, both of you,
Thank
for
you.
your service, not only to our country, but you're continuing to serve even when the uniform came off. And I absolutely love the level of support that you continue to give our veteran community, our first responders. And it's been nothing but an honor to meet the both of you. And I look forward to meeting you both in person, hopefully at a Sunnyside of Freedom meetup, which we'll
Yeah.
talk about at another time. And if you're interested in knowing more about the Sunnyside, please visit my website, Sunnyside of Freedom. Get to know my mission, how I'm here as a civilian interviewing veterans, why it's important, because every story matters. They're all different, but every single one matters. And I'm hoping that today their story reached one of you out there, and hopefully it'll open something up for you. It'll resonate. There is hope. There is connection. It's out there. Get out of your screens and get out into the world and find that community that you've been longing for. One of the hardest things for our military and first responders. So, with much love and respect, I thank you both, guys. Please feel free to going that way. Feel free to support them. Visit their site. Donations and sponsorships are always welcome. Matt and Angela, thank you both. I appreciate you. And I will see you guys again the next time we are joined here by the next interview in the next story. Much love. Stay sunny, stay spicy, always make it count, be the difference that you want to see in the world. Much love.